On the night of November 19th, 2025, a Russian laser locked onto the cockpit of a British P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft flying 45 miles off the coast of Scotland. The beam was high-powered, military-grade, and aimed directly at the pilot's eyes. What the crew of the Russian research vessel Yantar thought they had just done was buy themselves 15 minutes of darkness to finish their work on the seabed below. What they had actually done was activate a trap that had been waiting for them since before they left port. The Yantar is a Project 2210 oceanographic survey vessel. That is what Russia calls it. NATO's classification is less polite. The Yantar belongs to the GUJI, Russia's main directorate of deep-sea research, and its two onboard submersibles, the AS-37 Rus and the AS-39 Consul, carry robotic manipulator arms that are not designed for coral sampling. They are designed to clamp onto fiber optic cables at depths of up to 6,000 meters and cut. The stretch of water the Yantar was working that November night is not a fishing ground. 45 miles west of Scotland, the seabed carries Atlantic Crossing 1 and Cantat 3, two of the primary fiber optic cables routing financial transaction data between North America and Europe. 97% of international financial transfers travel through cables like these. If Russia cuts them during a conflict, Wall Street goes dark. SWIFT goes dark. NATO member states lose the ability to coordinate financial sanctions inside 48 hours. The Yantar was not conducting oceanography. It was measuring a choke point. The ship had turned off its AIS, its automatic identification system, in early November.
For a civilian vessel, that is illegal. For a military vessel operating under a civilian registry, it is a declaration of intent. Think of it as a truck driving through a residential neighborhood at 2 in the morning with its headlights off and its license plates removed. You do not need to know where it is going to understand what it is doing. The Royal Air Force's P-8A Poseidon crew knew exactly what it was doing. The P-8's AN/APY-10 radar detects metal hulls and wave displacement signatures regardless of AIS status. The thermal and synthetic aperture radar imaging confirmed the ship's identity. And then the crew noticed the slow zigzag pattern, 3 to 5 knots, back and forth across the same 1,000-meter stretch of seabed. In naval language, that movement has one purpose: seabed scanning. The P-8 descended to confirm. The Yantar crew spotted it. And then someone aboard that ship made a decision that ended the mission. The optical dazzler system on the Yantar's deck activated. The laser hit the P-8's cockpit. The British pilot responded correctly. He pulled up, increased altitude, and executed the standing NATO protocol for laser engagement. Disengage from the threat envelope, upload targeting data to Link 16, and clear the area. Link 16 is the NATO tactical data network. Every allied platform in range receives real-time coordinates, sensor data, and system telemetry simultaneously.
The moment the British crew uploaded their package and cleared, every asset in the area knew exactly where the Yantar was, what it was doing, and what its electronic emissions looked like. The Yantar crew thought they had won. The P-8 was gone. The sky was dark again. The AS-37 submersible was already in the water, navigating toward the cable coordinates. What they did not know was that the USS Indiana, a Virginia-class nuclear attack submarine, had been stationary on the bottom in the acoustic shadow of the Yantar's stern since before the Russian ship arrived. The Indiana's sonar operators had been recording the AS-37's engine signature from the moment it submerged. A Virginia-class boat's sonar suite can distinguish between shrimp clicking and a torpedo tube opening at 10 miles. The AS-37's electric propulsion made a sound they logged and cataloged. There was no hiding from it. But the laser was the mistake that changed everything.
To aim an optical dazzler at an aircraft cockpit with precision, the Yantar had to activate its navigation sensors and targeting system simultaneously. The moment those systems powered up, they produced electromagnetic emissions across multiple frequencies. A second P-8A, a signals intelligence variant flying at 35,000 feet,
was already in the area. Its AN/ALQ-211 electronic support measures suite captured every frequency, every pulse rate, every bandwidth characteristic of the Russian system in real time. Not to jam it, to fingerprint it. To build a complete electronic profile of every sensor the Yantar was running, which was also the same profile as every other Yantar-class vessel in the Russian fleet. The AS-37 was now blind and deaf at the bottom of the North Sea, for reasons that had nothing to do with luck. The second US P-8 used the electronic fingerprint to identify the exact frequency band the Yantar was using to communicate with the submersible below. Then it jammed that band, not broadly, but precisely, filling the specific hydroacoustic channel with high-intensity noise. The Russian captain, trying to issue navigation instructions to his submersible crew, was effectively shouting into a megaphone aimed directly at his own earpiece. The AS-37 lost telemetry. On the Yantar screens, the submersible's position data vanished, replaced by error codes. The sub was floating blind, unable to determine its position relative to the cable, relative to the mothership, or relative to the sonar pulse it had just detected. That pulse was from the Indiana. The submarine had moved from its position in the Yantar's stern shadow to within 900 meters of the Russian ship's keel. Then it transmitted a single active sonar ping.
One ping. The unmistakable acoustic signature of an American nuclear attack submarine, transmitted at close range directly into the hull of a Russian research vessel. The sound rings through metal like a hammer hitting a steel beam in an empty room. Every person aboard the Yantar heard it. They did not need to look at a screen to understand what it meant. They already knew. The message from the Indiana was not tactical. It was strategic. You have been here the entire time. You are not invisible. You are not beyond consequence. And you are currently surrounded in 3 dimensions: a submarine underneath your keel, 2 aircraft above, and a complete electronic map of every system you are running being compiled in real time. The Russian captain ordered emergency recovery of the AS-37. The submersible was hauled back aboard. The Yantar powered its engines, came around to a northern heading, and left the area at maximum sustainable speed. The British and American P-8s flew parallel escort, not attacking, not communicating, simply present. The Yantar was walked out of the exclusion zone like a caught trespasser being shown the door by a homeowner who had not yet decided whether to call the police. Not a single weapon was fired. Not a single shot.
Here is what Russia lost that night beyond the failed mission. The electronic fingerprint of every sensor system the Yantar operates is now in NATO's database. Every future Yantar deployment to any location on Earth begins with NATO already knowing its complete emissions profile. The ship's sensors no longer have a first contact advantage anywhere in the world. The laser that was supposed to buy 15 minutes of invisibility instead bought a permanent entry in the Western Electronic Order of Battle. The cable it was surveying is still intact. The seabed mapping mission it was attempting to complete is now being redone under circumstances that NATO is tracking from the moment any Yantar-class vessel leaves a Russian port. Russia brought a laser to a signals intelligence fight and left with nothing except a navigation record that now gets shared with every NATO maritime patrol squadron operating in the Atlantic. The fiber optic cables that carry Western financial data are still there. They are still carrying your transactions, your emails, and yes, this video. And the people guarding them are the quietest professionals on Earth, the ones you never hear about because their work ends not with explosions, but with a single sonar ping and a long, humiliating drive home. So here is the real question. Russia knows now that NATO was already in position before the Yantar arrived. That means either Moscow has an intelligence leak, or NATO's persistent undersea presence is so complete that the Yantar's departure from port triggered surveillance before it ever crossed into the EEZ. Which one is it? And if you were the Russian admiral who ordered this mission, what do you request differently next time? Drop your read on it below. You have just been briefed on one of the most clinically precise naval deterrence operations in recent years, and your analysis matters.